The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome. My name is Arden Cala, and I'm a member of Nashua's Environment and Energy Committee and volunteer lead for the Nashua Solarize Plus campaign. Nashua Solarize Plus is a volunteer and municipal-led campaign which offers a group purchase discount for Nashua and Hudson residents and small businesses for solar PV and weatherization installations. This community discount is a limited time offer. The more participants we have in the program, the higher the discount goes. And Solarize Plus installers have been vetted by a municipal review team for quality, customer experience, and value, so you can trust you have a high-quality installation team. Our selected installers for the Nashua Solarize Plus campaign are Granite State Solar and Turcotte Solutions. Today we have two guests on our show. Erik Shifflett of Granite State Solar, who is partner of Granite State Solar, and later on the show we will be speaking with Mike Turcotte, CEO and founder of Turcotte Solutions. And we are here with Erik Shifflett, partner of Granite State Solar. Hi Erik, welcome.
Hi Arden, thank you for having me here.
It's great to have you. So our first question is I would love to hear from you a bit more about Granite State Solar and what differentiates you from the competition.
Okay, Granite State Solar is actually celebrating our 10th year in business this year, 2018, nice. Which solar years are like dog years. 10 years to be in the solar business is a long time. 10 years ago, there wasn't really much going on in the industry. But in 2008, you may recall there was a bit of a recession that hit with the housing market crash. The founder of the company, my business partner, his name is Alan Gaunt, and he was a builder. And he decided he had to do something to put food on the table. And you can't just sit by and watch the market collapse and do nothing. So he started up Granite State Solar then in 2008. And we've been in continuous operation since then. However, I think everybody would probably recognize that it wasn't until like 2013, 2014 that solar started to pick up a bit and really, sort of took off in the last few years. So our growth trajectory has not been a steady curve. It's been more like a hockey stick. We are all entirely focused on New Hampshire. So Granite State Solar only serves New Hampshire. We don't go to Massachusetts or Maine or any of the surrounding states. We employ full-time employees that work directly for us. We don't subcontract any of the work. So every one of our employees is actually full-time. We don't hire temps. We also work year-round. We don't do seasonal layoffs.
That's great.
It's nice. It's not as productive in the wintertime, but we do keep busy. And we have a great staff. Everybody, I think it shows, when the salespeople come out to the house and then when the installers go out to the house, everybody has their head held high. Everybody loves what they're doing. Everybody feels like they're part of a community and a family atmosphere. And it shows, I think, with our clients. And what we really work for, one of the things that differentiates us is we don't really have an official mission statement, but if it was to be summarized or to sum up the company's sort of ethos, we really strive to do what we say we're going to do. And that means that when we are going to provide a proposal, it better be accurate. And we do in-person evaluations on every home or business before we send a proposal out so that we've already done our homework, dotted our I's, crossed our T's. And when somebody gets that proposal, that's essentially us saying we're going to do something for you. And if something goes wrong on the job, and it occasionally happens, we're going to beat that mistake. We're not going to pass that on to a customer. We're going to do whatever we can if we make a mistake to make it right, to basically stick with we're doing what we said we were going to do. This is the price, this is the product, and here's how it will work. And that's really translated to, I would say, a really supportive client base. We really rely on our clients for referrals, for good word of mouth, for sustaining the business, and we have to thank them every day for helping us be where we are, because it's really our clients and their support and reviews they've posted online and things like that that help us attract new clientele. So that's us in a nutshell.
So I can tell you that when I was on the municipal review team looking at the different proposals and we were going through the process of selecting the right installer, something that really stood out to me about Granite State Solar was just the customer reviews. The genuine stories that I saw and the ratings that I saw were just outstanding. And that gave me a lot of confidence that we selected the right installer, because your customers have great things to say about you.
Thank you. I mean, they're real reviews.
They're
Sometimes
not
people say,
fake.
how could you possibly have that many 5-star reviews? They're real, and we work hard for them.
Sure.
We do ask our clients for reviews. Like at the end of every job, we do a final walkthrough. We present them with all their paperwork, the IRS tax form to claim their tax credit. We show them how to use the monitoring systems, and we inevitably say, here's our Facebook page, here's our Google account. If you want to leave a review, great. But we do not pay for reviews. They're real, they're not purchased. But that's like I said, that's our strategy, and we have to provide a really good level of service to sustain our future. And we're not in an industry that generates recurring revenue. At least we haven't figured out how to do it yet.
Yeah.
Our revenue is based on just a markup of materials and labor, and then that's it. And we don't have the luxury of just sitting back and watching checks roll in because we sold a subscription of some sort, right?
Sure.
So we really have to rely on positive word of mouth and positive community engagement and supporters and promoters in the community to help us continue to grow and continue to find new customers and clientele. So our strategy is, it's fine if we lost thousands of dollars on a job. If that customer's happy in the end and they tell a few other people, yeah, Granite State Solar made a mistake, but they made up for it, or the way they responded to the mistake is what I remember, and that's they responded by taking ownership, fixing it, moving forward. We can even turn lemons into lemonade in that way. And
great.
pardon the cliche phrase, but it has happened.
Yeah, sure. So if a customer or if a potential Solarize customer wanted to talk to a Granite State Solar customer to see what their experience was like, is that possible?
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic.
I don't know if that was a leading question because you have not received a proposal from us, but everybody who does receive a proposal from us gets a document, which is a list of references, and it's 9 pages long, literally.
Wow.
With names, email addresses, photograph of the house, phone number, and testimonials interspersed, but they can call literally dozens and dozens of existing customers.
Wow.
And they'll all hopefully say the same thing, which is, yes, they do good work.
Sure, I'm confident they will. So could you tell us a bit more about your experience specifically with Solarize? You have some experience doing Solarize campaigns in other towns and communities in New Hampshire. Tell us about that, and what were the outcomes that you achieved in those campaigns?
Okay. Granite State Solar has participated in Solarize campaigns, or they've also been called Solar Up. So some people might recognize that name if they live in one of these towns or nearby. We've participated in Solarize campaigns with 4 communities: Londonderry, Ware, Candia, and Deerfield. And the whole concept of the model is that if enough people commit to going solar, then we can buy at a lower price. We can literally beat up our manufacturer suppliers, and we can really dip into the margins a little bit because we're anticipating a certain volume, and everybody gets to benefit from a group discount. So it gives an individual the purchasing power of a much larger block. And that's the concept behind Solarize. And when we first did our first Solarize campaign, it was 2015 with Candia and Deerfield. And we anticipated, if this goes really well, we're going to do like 15 systems. That'll be awesome. And on the first kickoff event where people came to learn about the campaign, we had 140 people there.
Wow.
It was a church in Deerfield. It was packed, like standing room only. And the next 2 days later, we did a kickoff event in Candia, and there was 100 people there. And these towns only have like 1,000 households. So that was a pretty huge, maybe 1,200 households, but it was a big turnout. We ended up installing in that Solarize campaign over 70 systems in Candia and maybe 70 or 80 systems in Deerfield. And then the jobs continued to trickle in over time because just everybody kept seeing what was going on, and everybody talks to everybody. And, and there's the keep up with the Joneses, right? So it was very successful. And then for the following year, we did Ware and Londonderry. And we had great success there as well. And maybe not quite as high a percentage of the population as in Candia and Deerfield, but still over 50 systems in Ware, and probably somewhere in that same realm for Londonderry. And the model works. We are literally able to secure better pricing. In anticipation of our bid for Nashua Solarize Plus, we went to our suppliers and told them what we wanted to be able to offer for a price point on very high-end equipment, to try and provide a value where these are very top-of-the-line components that we're putting up on a roof or on the ground, very top of the line, at like the Honda Accord pricing, okay, a good value, and maybe not the lowest priced car or solar array you can buy, but the best mixture of really high quality, high-end components for the money. And we had to work with the suppliers on that and sort of give them a forecast of volume, and we were able to secure some significant discounts. And that is really the concept of Solarize through and through. It does work, and it did give us the buying power and the leverage to provide a bonus and a benefit to the community that's going to participate.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So a couple things that were important to the municipal review team when we looked at the proposals and interviewed the installers was quality, customer experience, and value. And we purposely didn't want to use the word price, because price insinuates, cheapest is the best.
Right.
In this case with solar, what happens is that, I equate solar as like, well, you could get a car that's cheap, but if it costs you a lot of money in gas because the miles per gallon, isn't good, then you're spending a lot of money after you buy it, right?
Right.
So with solar, if you get a good panel that's high energy efficiency, that'll create a lot of electricity for you, it's worth it because of all the savings you're going to get for the next 25 years. So the value is a very, very important component for us when evaluating our installers, and Granite State Solar definitely showed good value in the panels that you provide.
There is another part to the reason I chose the panels we chose, which for reference are very high power. They're 350 watt modules. Solar panel is called a module. I got to not speak the jargon.
That's right.
They're very high output, but they're the same size as a regular 250, 300 watt residential module, but they're putting out 350 watts. And this is sort of in keeping with the trajectory of solar. As the years progress, it gets more and more efficient and the prices come down. But I also wanted to use a very high power module because you can fit more on a small roof if you don't need as many panels. And Nashua and Hudson may not all have huge roofs to work with, and we try and design an array to cover all of a consumer's usage, all of that home's consumption.
Right.
And so picking the high power panel, besides it having excellent warranty, 25 years in every respect, labor, parts, workmanship, production, it also will allow consumers to do more towards zeroing out their electric bill or getting closer to that compared to panels that we offered just a couple years ago. They've gone up a lot in power and a lot in technology, and even the warranties are better than they used to be too. They just have designed really reliable products now.
That's great. So, and another component I wanted to talk about with the Solarize campaign is just the sheer volume that we're looking at doing. So right now, Nashua currently has about 200 solar installations. Granite State Solar, has those as well in the community in Nashua. And in the Solarize campaign, we're looking to do 100, perhaps 100 plus. Which would be really nice if we could get to 100 plus. But I just wanted to relay that to our audience that we're looking at doing about, 50% more what we already have, in the Nashua community just with the Solarize campaign, which I think is really awesome.
It's a great goal, and it's achievable. I mean, we did that. It's two towns. Candia and Deerfield combined as one consortium for that Solar Up campaign or Solarize campaign. And we did well over 100 in those little towns with a very low population compared to Nashua.
Yeah.
So it's definitely achievable. We can handle the volume as well. We run 2 full-time installation crews, and a typical roof takes 1 day. So we can actually install, if the weather cooperates, 10 jobs in 1 week if everything goes according to plan, and the average size roof is what we're installing, not a real large system which might take 2 or 3 days. So yeah, it's doable. And,
Great.
and I know where people are going to want to try and get them installed this year, before the end of the year. They want the tax credit as soon as possible,
That's
that nice
right.
big check from the IRS, hopefully. So we
Sure.
will work to make sure that we do everything we can to make that happen. The 100-unit goal is our goal as well.
Fantastic. And I would say too that the tax credit for the IRS, could you tell us a bit more about that for our audience that's watching?
Sure, I take it for granted, I suppose, that I know how it all, how solar works. And
Yeah, yeah.
But the tax credit should be explained because it's a significant incentive. Any individual or business that's pays taxes, a for-profit entity or somebody with tax liability, can claim the investment tax credit. It's called the ITC for short. Anybody could Google investment tax credit and they can see the IRS website, and it also explains what it is. But essentially, the gross cost of the system, 30% of the gross cost of the system is eligible to be claimed as a tax credit. Now, individuals have different tax liability, corporations have different tax liability. Everybody needs to check with their own accountant to determine how much of that tax credit they can claim in year one, or if it has to be spread out over multiple years. Make sure they have enough tax liability to claim it, but literally a system that costs $10,000, $3,000 of that is available as an incentive, as a tax credit.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so we have the tax credit portion, which is an incentive for solar, but we also have this tiered discount during the Solarize campaign, which is the Solarize campaign is happening, for the summer. And could you tell us a bit more about how that Solarize tier discount works?
Okay. There's 3 pricing tiers, and it's very transparent. The price is the price. It was what we had to put in our proposal in response to the request for the bids. So it's published. The first tier, like the lowest price tier, if only one person buys a solar array in Nashua or Hudson as a result of this campaign, the cost is on a set per watt for the installation, and it's $3.10 per watt installed, assuming that there's no major hurdles like we're digging a trench.
Sure.
And ground arrays are priced a little differently. But for your typical roof, and 1 through 19 people, when they sign up, they're at that price, which is actually still significantly discounted for these products. When the 20th person signs up, the price goes down to $3 a watt installed, and it also applies retroactively to anybody else who's already been installed or purchased or signed in a contract as part of the campaign. So we might have a rebate check due to people. And then if 50 people sign up, when we hit the magic number 50, from then on, we're at the lowest price tier. And from 50 to 100 or 100 plus, whatever it ends up being, we're at $2.95 per watt installed. And again, that could mean rebate checks for people that have already been installed if they've already paid for the job or something along those lines. So the pricing applies retroactively to anybody that signs a contract during the campaign timeframe, which is from June 1st to August 31st. So it's 3 months.
That's
And
it.
After that, literally, yes, the price will go back up because
Limited time offer.
it is. It's a limited time offer. It's not like an offer in name only. It's a legitimate offer, and we would prefer to, be able to keep the price as low as we can, but it will not be at the Solarize price.
Sure. And I think that limited time offer is fair. I can tell you that I've seen, statistics that the average, solar sales cycle from point of consideration, to installation can take, up to 2 years, because there's a lot of complexity out there when it comes to solar. What I like about the Solarize campaign is what we did is we came together as a community, vetted, the installers. So we did the shopping for the community. And in return, the installer, so Granite State Solar, is offering this limited time offer. And procrastination can be, very difficult to overcome sometimes. So I do think the limited time offer makes it compelling. And that's how we can really get the numbers. And we also need the numbers so we can get the group discount.
Yes.
So the whole campaign sort of works, really magically in that way.
It does, and I had to actually provide guidance to our suppliers on quarterly sales as a result of the campaign. So it is a process that does what it's intended to do. And I should also clarify that nobody is obligated to use us. Granite State Solar has been vetted, and we answered a lot of difficult questions, and we had to bring a good value to the table, right? And also show that we could do this, that we've done it before, that we can meet service levels and make sure that everybody's happy in the end, and do the best that we can to make sure that everybody has a good experience. And that's the vetting process. But we encourage everybody we meet with to get competitive quotes, because
That's good.
solar is a big purchase, right? It's an investment. You're not just throwing money at a grocery bill, okay? Solar is a big cost. It's like buying a car. It can be, anyway. But the thing is, everybody who's bought a car before knows what they're in for. Generally, nobody's bought solar before. It's your first purchase, and it's going to last forever for the most part. I mean, everything's warranted for 25 years, but it's not going to break at the end of the warranty. It could last
50 years.
50 years.
Yeah.
So people aren't usually buying solar twice. So when we get out there, we explain, here's how it works, here's what you can expect, here's what other customers have done, and here's why we designed it a certain way. And you should probably get another quote just to make sure that what I'm telling you is accurate, and that you're not rushing into this and with buyer's remorse for this large, potentially once in a lifetime purchase. So we've been vetted, and we're happy that we were chosen, and we're happy to provide the best service that we can. But nobody's obligated to use Granite State Solar. If they choose a different company, different quote, then that's fine. I'll be sad about it, but accept it.
Well, what I can tell you is I think that shows why you have such great customer reviews, and your customers really appreciate the experience that you provide, is because you seem to me that you're looking out for your customer. Just in that statement, that's what that tells me. So good for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
A couple of other things I did, want to share about the tiered pricing. Some people may be wondering, well, why not just, why have these tiers? Why not just give the price and that's the price? And it's because we would really love to have the community, galvanize the community in order to help us recruit their friends and their neighbors. So if you're somebody that's in tier 1 and you've gone solar, you're really motivated to say, hey, Uncle Bob, why don't you go do this too, and really help get the word out. The community part, along with the municipal support, and we also have volunteers that are going to be helping to support the campaign and get the word out. All those components together are really, really good in order to make the campaign successful. So, yeah.
I look forward to seeing the volunteers in action.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
and our sales force is small internally, so you're essentially doubling the size of our sales force here.
Yeah, so far we have 7 wonderful volunteers. I call them the Magnificent 7. And we'll be doing things like going to Nashua events or canvassing neighborhoods and hanging door hangers, just to try to help get the word out, because we really want people to leverage this and take advantage of this, especially while it lasts. So we're very excited for the volunteer work we're going to do.
Good.
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing the results too.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take a step back a bit and talk a little bit just about solar specifically. Why would I, as a homeowner, want to go solar? What are the benefits? Or a small business owner?
So electricity rates are high in New Hampshire. They're, last I checked, the 4th highest in the nation, or up there. The cost of electricity also fluctuates. It's unstable, and rates can go up one year or down one year, but on general, on average, they tend to gradually creep up. And also, usage can vary based on the time of year. And like this last winter, we had a pretty big cold snap in December. We had a bunch of snow in March, and people were turning on electric space heaters sometimes and getting whacked with an electric bill that was shocking in some cases, a lot more than they had anticipated. So when you put solar on a house, you can really take control of that sort of variable, the unknown of the electric bill. You can design an array that can essentially cover all of the usage in the home or the business. And over the course of the lifetime of the system, it's producing electricity at a cost of about 3 cents per kilowatt hour, all in. So, or just for 25 years, it's going to last longer than that. But if you do calculation on what's the amount of output of the array and how long is it guaranteed to work flawlessly for, which is 25 years, what does it cost for the whole system, divide that into how much electricity it's produced, and you're looking at around 3 cents per kilowatt hour. The average electric bill in New Hampshire is in the realm of 15 to 18 cents per kilowatt hour. So that's a significant savings.
Yeah.
And then you have the stability of an electric bill that is drastically reduced or potentially almost eliminated. One thing that's on every electric bill that never goes away is the customer charge or the meter fee or the member fee if it's a co-op customer. That top of the line bill, that never goes away. So you're always still going to get an electric bill, but $12 a month isn't too bad compared to $100 one month, $200 the next month, you never know. So we really can help people who are on a budget, especially people with like a fixed income who really need to be able to budget accurately and for the future. Solar is very helpful there. Solar also adds value to property. So homes in New Hampshire that have sold with solar are few and far between. There's not a lot of comps in New Hampshire, but other studies have been done showing homes in other states like Massachusetts, California, Hawaii, Colorado, that when they sell with solar, there's a significant added value to the home. So that's adding equity. And like I said, solar is an investment, and the investment pays for itself, A, with the reduction in electricity costs, and B, with the added value and equity that's on the property or the business. Both of those things combine to produce a really solid return on investment. And we provide return on investment estimates for our customers, and we want to see a solar array pay for itself just in the value of electricity that it's produced, and renewable energy credits, which are a complicated subject, but all of our customers participate and sell renewable energy credits. And we would explain that to homeowners individually and in person.
Sure, understand.
But it should pay for itself if it's a good installation within between 7 to 10 years, not more than 10 years. If it's more than that, we might look at it and say that's not a great site. It's not really very productive. It might take too long to pay for itself.
There could be some customers that are environmentally motivated, and that may not be a concern. So
There could be. And if somebody says they accept that and understand that, then that's okay.
Yeah.
But we try and provide accurate advice in terms of this is a great roof, this is a mediocre roof, and you might have a neighbor who bought solar and they only needed 20 panels. Well, you need 24 to get the same result. Why is that? I explain it with another car analogy. Okay, a great roof faces south and it doesn't have any shade. And when you put solar up on a roof like that, you get great productivity. So either you can cover a lot of electrical usage, or you just don't need as many panels to cover what usage is there. And if you take that same solar array and shift it to the west or to the east and make it an east-west roof, or heaven forbid north, the productivity drops down dramatically, but the consumer will still have paid the same amount. So instead of going to the car dealership and paying $10,000 and getting a Porsche, they may have paid $10,000 and gotten a Yugo, right? Same money, but the product is very different.
Sure.
So when
Makes sense.
yeah, it does make sense. And we will tell people when we see their house, this is great. This is the azimuth. That's the angle towards south. We'll do a shade analysis. We also look at weather history. When we have a program that designs the system and tells us what the output is, we take all of those factors into account. And so that variable, what you get for the solar product, is what changes the return on investment. It's the same panels, it's the same sunlight, it's the same weather, but the angle of the sun and the amount of shade and also the pitch of the roof all come into play. And hopefully, if everything is good, it'll be a very short return on investment. And if things are mediocre, it might take a little bit longer. But like you said, there are some people that are willing to do that. They're in it for the long haul. They don't really have too much of a concern about taking a little longer for the payback because they want to do something green, or they know that eventually it will pay for itself and then they're good, or maybe they plan on selling the home and using that as a selling feature.
Sure. So do you get the same benefits if you own your system versus leasing a system?
Well, you get significantly more benefit if you own it.
Right.
We do not offer leases, and people ask us all the time. Generally, the appeal of a lease is that you can go solar without any money down.
Sure.
That's generally the talking point that people lead with when they're proposing a lease. We can offer the same thing. We offer financing for our customers, so they don't need to go into their bank accounts. They don't need to dip into their retirement savings. And with ownership, you pay off a loan over a 12-year period generally, instead of a lease, which tends to be 20 years or 25 years. So, and at the end of the loan, you have no loan payment, and you still hopefully have a very small electric bill. So you're really realizing all of the benefits on the savings. Whereas with a lease, they tend to include an escalator, not always, but usually they go up a little bit every year to keep pace with inflation and or rising electric rates. if the electric rates were to go down, or if inflation was not to increase as much every year as anticipated, then that could cut into the value of a lease. Whereas with ownership, the costs are so low and the benefit is so high that you could see the market fluctuate, you could see electric rates drop, and that solar array is still cheaper than whatever the electric rate is. So there's one major benefit. Another one is, when you have a leased roof system, if you want to sell your home, you either need to convince the new home buyer to enter into the lease, or you need to buy the lease out. And that can be a difficult thing for people to come up with that kind of money. Whereas when you own the array, it's equity on the home. If it's a financed project, there is no lien on the property. It's a personal loan. It's tied to the homeowner's credit or the business's credit. It's not tied to the property. So it's easy to sell the house and then take the proceeds from the house to pay off the loan if there was still a balance on it.
Yeah, and I would imagine it would be easier to sell a house that had close to a zero electric bill than one
you can afford a larger mortgage if the electric bill is gone, so you can charge more for the house.
There you go. And also there's a property tax exemption in Nashua, so installing the solar, you won't get, the property taxes won't go up, is that right?
That's correct, but the homeowner needs to apply for the exemption, and then that added value and equity that the assessor sees is not going to be applied to the tax bill. Hudson offers that, Candia, there's actually a list on the, I think it's the Public Utility Commission's website, or it's maybe not the PUC. There is a website that lists all of the towns in New Hampshire that have some sort of renewable energy exemption, whether it's for wind or solar or hydro. It's on the web, and there's, I think, about 160 towns on that list at this point. So that is actually a really nice perk, that you can add equity to the home and not have to worry about that increasing the tax bill. And I think Nashua is very forward-thinking to have already passed that type of initiative, because it is a nice actual incentive that is worth dollars and cents.
I agree. So will solar make my house light on fire, and will the fire people that come out will say, no, I'm not going to put out that fire because there's solar on it? Because that is a concern that I do hear. So could you tell us a bit more about that?
Okay. All of our solar products are installed by electricians. The people on site are licensed apprentices, licensed journeymen, and licensed master electricians. So they know what they're doing, and they do a very good job. Our workmanship guarantee is 12 years. That's on things like the conduit or the combiner panel, like the box. And they're the same components that's in every house already anyway. Every home that we're dealing with already has electricity. There's a couple off-grid homes, but those don't count. Everyone that we're going to talk to here in Nashville will be on-grid. Okay, so it's got wiring in the house. It has a square D panel. It has the exact same components that we're installing. So we're not really adding a risk of fire, provided everything is done the way we do it, which is to code, to specifications, inspected by the city or town electrical inspectors, and then made operational with all the safety components that are normally installed in a house, like breakers, circuit breakers. So solar array has all of that. All of the systems that we install on roofs have a couple of additional features. One, we convert from the DC output of the solar panel to AC right at the panel. So you're actually transmitting 240 volts AC from the roof down to the main electrical panel. It's very safe to transmit 240 AC because it's low amperage, high voltage, low amperage. And those microinverters will stop putting out power the moment that they're not seeing any grid power coming to them. So an older style system might have power in DC going from the panel, the solar panel on the roof, to the electrical panel in the basement. And everything that we install has to be what's called rapid shutdown compliant, which means as soon as power is disconnected from the grid by the fireman or because of a power outage, those microinverters cease putting out any output, so they will not fry a lineman or a firefighter. And they sit there waiting to see grid power restored before they'll begin transmitting power again. So it's a very safe system. I don't know of any instances of solar panels causing a fire anywhere in the country. Maybe there has been an instance, but I'm not aware of one. We certainly have never had that problem, and I will knock on wood that we never do have that problem.
Right.
Firefighters will still put out a fire. a good solar roof usually does not have solar on both sides. Like if you have a south-facing roof, you put the panels on the south, that leaves the north side of the roof completely accessible to any firefighter to ventilate the roof if they needed to. On a roof where it's very rare, but you might have panels on both sides of the roof, like both sides of an east-west roof, we would be building in a buffer for access around the edges for a firefighter to be able to access the roof from the sides. But it's very rare to see an installation that's completely covering both east and west sides of a roof. Usually that's not very productive roof, and that's the type of thing where you're looking at a ground array instead.
Sure.
So.
Thank you. I'm sure that's very helpful. There are rumors and stories, so it's good to get that level set and make sure that people are well educated on that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
So a couple of other things that we wanted to discuss, changing gears a little bit. Let's talk about battery storage. Does Granite State Solar offer battery storage?
We do.
Great.
And we love it. And we think that battery storage is going to be a much larger percentage of our business and our time spent in the future. Battery storage is still a little pricey compared to, it is pricey compared to your traditional backup battery or backup generator system like a propane generator. However, battery technology justifies that increased cost. Batteries last a real long time. What we install is guaranteed for 10 years or 10,000 cycles. And that's 10,000 cycles means if you charge the battery and discharge it every day, once a day, it'll last you at least 27 years. So that's impressive. And they don't have maintenance requirements. They don't have off-gassing or need distilled water.
So this is Sonnen, the Sonnen battery?
Sonnen, yep, that's the brand that we install. They're made in the United States too, which is nice.
Yeah.
And most people install them for backup. So just for a power outage that lasts a couple hours or 12 hours, they're looking for enough capacity to keep the refrigerators going and the well pump going and the heating system going for an evening power outage during a snowstorm or something like that. That's the primary use for them right now. But they also can be configured to send power into the grid anytime. Utilities are starting to experiment with being able to compensate a customer who's bought a battery system for having that available for the utility to draw from in times of peak high demand. Sort of like the old Energy Star Heat Smart system where you had a separate meter for your hot water heater.
Wow.
Batteries are an up-and-coming thing. And the early adopters are buying them now, and we do install them, and we've done more than, I think, any other company in New Hampshire, according to Sonnen. And we all do quite a few more. But I will warn people that they are paying right now a little bit of a premium price for the technology.
Sure.
It's high-end, it's relatively low volume, but I think in the future the prices will come down even more.
Wonderful. So if I'm watching at home, what do I do next? How do I get in touch with Granite State Solar to participate in the Solarize program?
The best thing to do is go to the website for the campaign. You can reach us. Granite State Solar is easy to find on the internet, but NashuaSolarize.com is the web address. So I would go to NashuaSolarize.com and put in my information. It'll go to the team volunteers, and they will notify us that somebody wants to be contacted. We will not sell it to any marketers, and I'm sure you won't either. We'll keep it close, and that's the best thing to do.
Fantastic.
NashuaSolarize.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Erik, and educating us all on Solarize. Thanks
for having me, Arden. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. So next we'll be speaking with Mike Turcotte. He is the CEO and founder of TurnCycle Solutions and the Plus component of Solarize Plus. And here we have Mike Turcotte, CEO and founder of TurnCycle Solutions. Welcome, Mike.
How are you, Arden?
Very good, thanks. Glad to have you today.
Thank you for having me.
So could you tell us a bit about TurnCycle Solutions and what differentiates you from the competition?
Absolutely. So TurnCycle Solutions, we're a Nashua-based Nashua-based organization. I started the company when I was 23 years old. We have deep roots in downtown. We actually had our first office right on Main Street. I started the company with $364 in my bank account and this dream of running an energy-efficient construction company. And over the last 10 years, we've grown exponentially. We employ 10 employees. Both field and office workers. We have 8 to 10 trucks now. So we've grown substantially. Our organization does energy audits. We do energy installations to include weatherization. And then also we have a general contracting division as well.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It's great. And I'm happy to be in this local community. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're definitely local. You're just like a walk away from downtown City Hall.
Absolutely.
So that's
Yep.
awesome. So talk to us a bit more about weatherization and the state rebates that are offered, and also how the tiers work in the Solarize program for weatherization.
Absolutely. So it'll be very similar to what Erik spoke about earlier in the tiered pricing. So what our goal is to try to get as many Nashua residents, homeowners specifically, enrolled into the New Hampshire Saves program. And what the New Hampshire Saves program is it offers the homeowner the opportunity to receive 50% of their weatherization project paid. So in a hypothetical situation, if a customer was qualified through New Hampshire Saves, our organization comes out and runs an energy audit. We diagnose any inefficiencies with the home. We go in the attic, we'll go in the basement, we walk around the exterior of the home. We're trying to find any air leaks, insulation deficiencies. We use tools that help us to kind of hone those problematic spots, more or less. There are blower door and also a thermal imaging camera, as many people have seen. Those are just two of the tools that we use throughout that energy audit process. Then from there, we create a work scope for the consumer, which is itemized for them to pick from the attic, the basement, the exterior walls, whatever it is. At which time, hypothetically, a project was $4,000, the utility company would pay up to $2,000 of the total bill.
Wow.
So in that situation, they actually absorb that $100 that you originally paid for the energy audit. And then from there, what ends up happening is they will cover the cost of that. In addition to that, what provides great quality control and assistance to the customers is that 10% of all of our work is subject to quality control or quality check. So what happens is we go out, we'll do 5 homes in the Nashua community, and then one of those 5s will get an inspection from an outside third-party auditor. So they're really advocating really professional installation. They're making sure that we're billing appropriately because it is funded through a variety of different sources, and in the end, it's to benefit the homeowner. Hypothetically, if a homeowner was unable to get qualified in the New Hampshire Saves program, which I'll speak about in a moment, we have tiered pricing ranging from 3% off all the way through like 10% off. And basically, the more customers that come into the program, like Erik's, will actually be able to offer a bigger discount. So again, it will be an itemized opportunity so that if your budget only permits for $3,000, we prioritize those budgetary items in a certain direction. So how do you get qualified for New Hampshire Saves? It's very simple. So we need the square footage of your home, the finished square footage I should specify, and then also we need to know the fuel source and the actual consumption used in an annual year. So if it's oil, we need to know how many gallons you use. If it's propane, we need to know how many pounds you use, so on and so on. And basically what happens is we take that information, input it into the New Hampshire Saves website, and then at that time, it will dictate to us how energy inefficient or efficient your home is. So sometimes what happens is people that have really poorly insulated homes keep their temperatures really low, so they have a harder time getting into those programs. So turn the thermostat up right now, and let's see if we can get you qualified into New Hampshire Saves.
That's good advice. Thank
Yeah.
you, Mike. Awesome. So I do want to touch on a couple things that you
Absolutely.
said. I can tell you that one of the reasons that Turn Cycle Solutions was selected was because of your customer reviews and the customer experience that you provide.
Yeah.
And we really wanted to make sure that Nashua and Hudson citizens knew that they had a really great company with a trusted installer that would do good quality work on their homes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to ask about is, how about small businesses? Can small businesses participate?
Yeah, so what's great is the Nashua community has so many little lawyers, dentist's office, and a variety of other things. So we'll talk specifically kind of in stepping. So there's a great opportunity for the house that's been turned into a lawyer's office or a chiropractor's, because they're really easily insulated and they are eligible for a lot of rebates. This goes all the way through multifamily housing. This goes all the way through small commercial buildings. There's different programs that come into play throughout that process, and they require a little bit different auditing experience, or auditing attention, excuse my And then in addition to that, we create the same work scope and then provide those associated rebates to those programs as well.
Fantastic. That's good to know. So what are the core benefits of weatherizing your home or small business? What do I get out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're a results-based company. So in the end, one of our biggest driving points is comfort. So maybe you have discomfort issues. There's a room down in the far end of the house that doesn't get the same amount of heat or sun or whatever the case is, so you have discomfort issues. So I would say that's probably one of our largest driving factors for some of our customers. The second is just fiscally conservative, right? So why are we wasting money and being uncomfortable at the same time? So I would say those are the two probably biggest driving factors, and by utilizing our services, we go in, we tell you in a very just pragmatic way, this is how you're going to make your home more comfortable and more efficient by doing so. And in the end, the purpose of those rebates or the Solarize Nashua campaign discount is that we're hoping to incentivize those people to take that leap and get comfortable with making an investment into this. In all actuality, I kind of joke and say this isn't granite countertops. It's not the touchy-feely thing, but it makes a big impact in your annual budget for your household, and it makes your house more comfortable to live in. So in the end, I think those are the two kind of biggest driving factors.
Sure, and I think another additional benefit, it's great to save money and it's great to be comfortable in your home or business or make your business comfortable for your customers.
Absolutely.
But we're also reducing the emissions and the carbon footprint. Because most people in Nashua heat with oil or natural gas or, so that's also, another benefit. We're making, a better place to breathe air.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important. I mean,
Yeah.
it all goes together. All these initiatives that the city is now producing, better bike lanes, all these things, they all go into that larger footprint. I mean, I don't want to ever have a time in my life where we have an oil crisis or things like that. So it also helps the fuel consumption that we have within our resources as well, too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep. National security.
Absolutely.
Yep. So can you provide me just one example or one story of a particular customer that you helped in Nashua, and how much money did they save, and could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so we went into a standard box colonial. So a standard box colonial is typically 4 windows with a door in the middle and then 5 windows over the top of it. It was roughly about a 1,200 square foot home. So the attic space was about 1,000 square feet. When the house was built in the 80s, it was built during the boom. So houses were being put up in a very, very, very quick manner. Not a lot of attention to detail in some cases. And so insulation was by far, in a way, the lowest attention to detail. So we went into a home where they were spending a couple $1,000s a year. They did keep the thermostat up at a higher temperature because they had 2 young children. And we were able to go in and we insulated their attic. We air sealed the entire attic, insulated. We properly vented the attic so there wouldn't be any moisture issues in the attic pertaining to mold growth or anything like that.
Yeah.
In addition to that, the ventilation component that we look at, we're a roofer's best friend because we're not burning up the roof at the same time. We did some insulation. We spray foamed a rim joist in a basement. We did some other pragmatic, energy efficiency measures, and their return on investment for their project was 9 months.
Wow.
So by utilizing the New Hampshire Saves program, in addition to insulating it appropriately, their cost savings payback was actually like 9 months. And they're probably one of our biggest advocates because in the end, they're saving money, their carbon footprint is less, excuse me. In addition to that, their home is more comfortable to live in. So in the end, I would say that that's a very simplistic ones. We have really, really complicated ones that we've gone into 100-year-old farmhouses, other parts of the state, and those are the ones that really require you to kind of drill down on what and how do you insulate because they're built so differently than the box construction that we're used to now.
Sure. That's a great story. And that homeowner has more money in their pocket for the amount of time they spend now in their home.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
it's
fantastic.
impactful. I think that the biggest thing is that it allows you to free up some extra money to do that little vacation or whatever it is that you're trying to do. And by making a small fragmented investment into your home, you're getting the return on the other side.
Yeah, that's great. So let's talk a little bit about the insulation process because some people at home may be wondering, how do you do spray foam insulation? How do you get the insulation in there? Do you have to drill holes into my wall? And now are you ruining my house? You know,
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
could you talk to
That's
us
a
about
really
that?
good question, and it's very common. So a lot of our work is done in spaces that people don't typically go. So they're in attics and things like that. So what happens is most commonly when we go into an attic, we're blowing cellulose insulation. Cellulose is made out of recycled newspaper. It has a boric acid that's built into it, which is the same material or product that the Orca Man or whoever it is, the pest control provider, is spraying around the perimeter of your home. So it's really good with keeping insects and squirrels and everything away. I'll step down and now I'll talk about the exterior walls of a home. So when you insulate in a retrofit application, what happens is we take off a piece of siding at the top, bottom, and middle of every wall system. And what happens is we drill a hole in the exterior sheathing. So we'll take that piece of siding off, we drill a hole into the actual sheathing itself, we snake a hose up into the wall, and then backfill that stud bay. Every individual stud bay does get a hole drilled into it because we want to properly ensure that everything has been insulated. From there, we actually close the hole back up with either a wood plug or foam, and then we reinstall the siding back over that. Now, as we kind of step down into the basement, the most common problem that we see in most homes is the rim joist installation. So this is that part in your basement where you look up at the cement and then it turns to wood. What happens is there's a lot of plumbing penetrations, there's a lot of electrical run there, and in theory, the concrete is very porous and has kind of bumps, and so the wood doesn't sit exactly, airtight on top of that. So what we like to do is recommend spray foam insulation in that space. And what happens is the spray foam is an amazing product because it has an air sealing component and it has an insulating component. So it's about R7 per inch. And what that actually means to a layman, I guess I'll say, is that the more you put, obviously, the more insulation you get. Your average typical batt fiberglass is about 2.9 per inch for our value, where opposed to the spray foam is 7.2 in some applications. So it's significantly better for that hard to reach place, and it air seals it at the same time. So what my recommendation, or the reason why we recommend it in that space, is because it'll find every little crevice and fill that space. So it has an A and a B chemical. As it comes out of the gun, they bond together at about like 240 degrees, and then it actually cures over, and it's not as hard as cement, but it has a very hard coating on the outside of it. In most applications, we always apply intumescent paint. It's a fire retardant paint required in most building code applications in today's world. And it just basically ends up looking like white little fragment rock, basically, on the outside.
So some people may be wondering, is this spray foam insulation toxic, or is it safe, or?
Yeah, so in the early 80s, before I got into this business, they used formaldehyde in that, and that's where a lot of misconception has come from the product being very toxic. And so what's happened through the years, obviously that's not acceptable. We have government-run agencies that kind of watch over these products. The specific product is not preferred to be installed while someone's in the home. We ask that the occupants, the animals, be removed from the home for 24 hours. The reason why we do this is we don't want anyone with allergies or someone with a respiratory problem breathing in the chemical while it's being bonded together. It's different for every person. I don't have any personal respiratory problems, and I don't have any issue with it. But the installer, when they're applying the spray foam, is wearing a mask that has a piped air line to outside. It's just not something you want to get in your eyes, mouth, or ears when you're kind of applying it. But in general, it's not a toxic product at this point, and I would highly recommend it in the appropriate applications.
Sure.
To be said, it is an expensive process, but it's effective for what its applications are used for.
Sure. Well, that's awesome information, Mike. Thank you so much.
My
If
pleasure.
somebody wants to take advantage of these tiered discounts
Absolutely.
and weatherize their home and save money, what should they do next?
Yeah, just like Erik, you want to find us at turncyclesolutions.com, and you can reach us at 603-591-2776. and I'd be happy to talk with anyone and getting them qualified through the Nashua Solarize Plus campaign, and then hopefully through to the New Hampshire Saves program.
Thank you so much, Mike.
My pleasure, Arden. Thank you for your time.
You too. We hope you take advantage of the Nashua and Hudson Solarize Plus campaign in order to reduce utility costs for your home or small business and make a positive impact on our environment and air quality right here in New Hampshire. If you would like more information on how to volunteer for the Nashua Solarize Plus campaign, please email solarize@gmail.com and I will be in touch. If you would like to find out how to support the Hudson Solarize Plus campaign, please reach out to lindakipnes@gmail.com. Thanks for joining us today.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.